All right, we're just going through the agenda. Any questions on the agenda for tonight? And if I need to call you out, I'll call you out, but you can jump in if you need to. Any of our council members, any questions as it relates to tonight's agenda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
All right, Councilman Chisholm, please.
With regards to, I know some of these are, well, actually all of these are second readings and one needs to be pulled from the table. Specifically I'm looking at the agenda right now, trying to focus. I'm sorry. Okay. So under number 8, item B1, I would like to request that we split those because one is the Marijuana Caregiver Facility Act and one is the Drug-Free Zone, just to have those as separate votes. Because it's 2 items under one. I know we passed them, or they were passed from the Planning Commission level, but just like we did with the police cars, with the purchases, just asking if we could do the same.
Yeah, I don't see a problem. I don't see a problem with that. I mean, that's how it came out of Planning Commission. Is it legally going to
affect anything?
Yeah, I mean, you're the president, so of the Planning Commission. I mean, you guys done this before?
Well, I know with the police car situation, it was brought to us, those 2 different purchases as one. With the Planning Commission, I'm not sure we've ever had really
you had a first reading. You had a first reading of this already. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Split it into a second reading, and you split the 2. Legally, can we do that?
For the vote itself, that's Madam Clerk. Are we able to do that? I think we can. I mean, it's 2 different items that are just under that same.
Yes, you're able to do that. This is a second reading. You're able to amend the ordinance how you want to see it to be, or how you want it, what you want it to say. You're able to take votes and do that.
Okay, so you can't split them into 2 separate items. All right. So let's do that then.
Great, thank you.
No problem. Anything else, Mr. Chisholm?
At this particular time, not necessarily. I know Mayor Pro Tem said she was going to be running a little bit late.
Okay.
She's coming from work. So I'm not sure she had anything, but at this particular time.
All right, guys. Again, we're coming together at 6:00, an hour before the meeting, to talk about the agenda and any questions that you may have. We're supposed to, try to pose those questions now for the administration to be able to answer to the best of our ability, or get you the answer before the general meeting. So I just want to make sure that we all understand that we're taking out an additional hour before our general meeting to go over the agenda. So we should be talking about those items right now.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. I do have additional questions.
Go ahead.
So item number C, under new business.
New business number C. Go ahead.
Or letter C, I should say. Within the packet, when you're looking at what the language is right here, it has 2 addresses. 2407 John Daly, 2135 John Daly. Within the packet, it has 3 addresses. So for clarity purposes, one is a Trowbridge address. So for clarity purposes, I was trying to find out if we were talking about 3 addresses, because I know there's 2 different persons who are looking to purchase these properties. And if one would say, for instance, trying to purchase 1 of the 2, and then another one was trying to purchase 2 of the 3, or I was just trying to get clear.
Let's have Tracy chime in on that. Tracy, I see you on the call.
Good evening. In regards to that item, we are looking at 2 addresses this evening. That's 2407 John Daly, which is the physical building, and 2135 John Daly, which is the lot.
Okay.
2 addresses and not 3.
Cool. And then, Mr. Chair, also a question for Ms. Jennings.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
So for item letter D, is talking about a vacant lot on Harriet, but the parcel numbers don't match when you look into the packet. So, and the pictures don't either. Are we talking about at the corner of Carlisle and Harriet, right behind the liquor store, or are we talking about near Cherry and Beach?
Hey,
If you give me a moment, Councilman, I will look into that one.
Okay.
And I could say that it is, and reading this, it's the lot, this east side of Harriet Street, right behind the store there.
Been Carlisle and Andover.
I'm sorry, Councilman. You're out of order. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Between Beach and Cherry. And I don't know why it says between Beach and Cherry, so that's probably something that we had in the land grid that we have been using as it relates to identifying the property, because it's actually right at Carlisle, like Reverend Lee was just saying.
Right, because Beach and Cherry, that's up near Womack and Sharon 7-Day Adventist.
Exactly.
It's actually Andover and Carlisle.
Right.
They suppose they cleared that up. I don't know why she didn't.
Trace.
So Andover and Carlisle, not Harriet at all?
No.
Okay.
It's actually Harriet Street, so it's the east lot behind the store, like Councilman Williams is saying, between Andover and Carlisle.
Oh, I got you. Okay, yeah, that makes more. Yes, that's the clarity I'm seeking, and I figured it was just something with, because if you look at item D and item E, they kind of look almost identical, but I know it can sometimes get confusing with all those parcel numbers and streets that are all in there. So I just wanted to make sure that when we vote on the rights later down the line, something would change and the county would say, well, it's on the city, X, Y, and Z. So
yeah, for sure. We've had that happen before, so we definitely don't want to do that. So good catch.
The lot numbers are correct, though.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Let me see.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, please.
So it's on the east side of Harriet between Andover and Carlisle? Is that what's the...
Correct.
Okay.
All right.
How did she say that? Okay.
Yep. What else you got, Councilman Chisholm?
Let me see. D-E... I believe at this particular time, that's what I have. That's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I yield to my colleagues.
All right. And then as it relates to just the agenda itself, and we were talking about previous business being removed from the table. So that's the actual business license for whatever we decide to go with tonight with the readings, with the second readings. So we should have actually the business license should be item 4 under, or it should be added to new business. What you think, Clerk? Madam Clerk.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was on mute. It's under where it should be because it's previous business.
But we don't have
so it should be removed from the table. Then once you remove it from the table, you can go ahead in that capacity and vote on it, on how you choose to do it. It doesn't have to be new business. You can just go ahead and vote, even though it's under previous.
But my thing is that we it'll be like putting again the cart before the horse, because we'll still have to get through the businesses that we're planning to do. You know what I mean?
You can move it down to G if you like.
Okay. Yeah. So so we can remove it from the table. Then we move it. You said.
What you can do is you can remove it from the table and then move it down under to new business item G.
Gotcha. All right. All right. Let's see here.
Mr. Chairman, I have one question.
Go ahead, please.
It was 2 bids. Okay, that look like it looks on that property that Chisholm just got through talking about on Thorbridge and John Daly down that way. Okay, it's two bids. Okay, we only bidding on one of them, or what? How are we going to handle that?
Yeah, well, the thing is that you had the one bid that actually came in, and then another one actually came in that was a little bit higher. So the one bid came in at first for the property to do a property development at like $25,000, and then about a week and a half ago, another interested party came in with $50,000 that they wanted to do a development there at that particular parcel. So after going back and talking to the first bidder, he said he would match the $50,000. So you got two proposed projects there. One project from Dozier Jones and the ZimCube group, where they want to do a mixed-use residential business complex at the corner of John Daly and Trowbridge. And then you have another gentleman, Bernard. I think Bernard's name is in here somewhere. Let's see here. At any rate, Mr. Bernard that wants to do a medical marijuana testing facility. So it's really up to this body which one you want to take, which project you want to take on. So both of them actually have put good faith deposits down and are just waiting for our decision.
How many residential units are they talking about putting there?
Let's see here.
Did you hear me, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And I'm just looking in the packet just so I don't.
Yeah, I didn't see
you off something. Let's see here. And I just talked to him, and he said he was looking at doing, based off of this, it says mixed-use building would contain 2 commercial spaces on the first floor and 3 residential units on the top. Each unit will be about 1,500 square feet, at least 2 to 4 bedrooms with 1 bath.
And these are modular style homes?
Well, basically the container style. So when you say modular style, that's what they're under with the state of Michigan code. So it's the container style homes that they're looking at doing. You do have a picture of them in the packet. And that's page 135. That's basically how it would look, the proposed scope of work of what he's looking to do.
We don't have a diagram of the other one. Am I correct?
Well, it'll just be the existing building at the corner of Trowbridge and John Daly that the city owns, and they would convert it into a testing facility for marijuana. And they do have just an outlay of exactly how much they're looking to propose to put into the building for the rehab of the building itself, which is on page number 32.
32.
And that's John Bernard. And he's saying for rehabilitation equipment is an estimated price of $2 million that they would put into the building itself. But that includes all of the, of course, all the equipment that comes along with that industry. So Dozier Jones, the mixed use residential and business proposal was actually the first proposal in, and then we had another proposal come in too. Now, we can go back to them and say highest bidder, or, right now as a group, we can say, okay, our consensus is more so with the development of some residential property and some commercial property, or do we want to do the marijuana testing facility? We wanted to bring both of them to you just because they were a significant amount of money.
Okay, has everyone finished, or are you all through yet?
Go ahead, ma'am. You had a floor. You had a floor, Councilwoman Wiley.
Okay, thank you. Reference, I have a couple questions that go back to the second reading and approval. But since we're on this marijuana facility or this facility, I'll go ahead and continue with that. The isn't this where he wants to put a marijuana facility? Isn't that zone B2 residential? Yes. So he would have to get. He would not be able to put a facility there because, as I recall, that's where we were going to have the dog pound, correct? That's the dog pound building.
That's correct.
Okay, so there are people still living on that street within the range of, that we say they can't be around. So he would need, this is not zoned for the facility.
Correct. And he is aware of that and the steps that he would have to take in order to attempt to get it done. But at the same time, again, the residential commercial proposal, was first in, and he had bid $25,000, and this particular gentleman bid at $50,000. And from talking to Mr. Jones, he said that we would go to $50,000 too. So, but I totally agree with what you're saying. I mean, it's going to be a process if we even say to this other person he could purchase it, he still would have to go through a process. It's going to include planning commission, possibly even zone of appeals, and then of course city council.
Okay. The other thing is, as Councilman Chisholm asked, that we separate certain things. I am asking for this previous business and separating second reading and approval to consider amendments to amend the City of Inkster's Code of Ordinance. Since we have not gotten a concise, clear copy of this ordinance to date, is there any way we could vote on each individual license separately instead of as a group?
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that based off of what we're just saying.
Right. In this packet, there are several different, when you go to the recreational, you got A, B, and C, then you go to the others. So if we could separate all of those, so each of us would have a clear, or at least I would have a clear understanding of which thing I'm voting for and all the ramifications involved in it.
Mm-hmm. I'm fine with that, Councilwoman. How would you like to break it down?
Just as each, since the 124 is the whole packet, just each license that is included in that packet, it be discussed and voted on separately.
Gotcha. So the caregiver facility, the micro business, that's it.
Well, the recreational is coming in on that end too, because we're still trying to get them exclusively paired with the medical.
I don't know who is that. We're trying to.
This is something that I have proposed in the past.
I get it. I understand that.
And that is not included in this new packet. Also, there is something that's included, the 24 plant situation that was never in the original. So my thought process is, since this was never initiated prior to this, how can you have a second reading? Wouldn't this have to go all the way to the beginning and have a public hearing and everything on it? Because that was never part of the original.
Yes, we clarified that last meeting that shouldn't even have been included. That was something that Harry, our attorney, he could speak to, that he was showing as a reference of what Dearborn was kind of doing with basically one of the council members had asked for some information as it relates to a comparable, as it relates to a city that was already doing it, and Dearborn was doing that. So we said that at the last meeting that we couldn't necessarily vote on that because that didn't come out of Planning Commission. So Harry, you want to clear that up a little bit, you can.
Sure. Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Good to see everybody tonight. Here's Councilwoman Watley. You're absolutely correct that stuff in there about the caregiver facilities, our new language. And I took the liberty of drafting that just so you can get an idea of what it looks like. And you notice in your package, hopefully you got the color version, that was highlighted in yellow because it's specifically new language and different from what was in the original first reading. You're absolutely right about that. And you are perfectly capable of either leaving that out right now or as a body making a motion to amend to include that new piece in the yellow. But I was trying to just show you what it would look like, where it would be, and give you some sense of what was going on with that. But that's why it's highlighted in yellow, because it is new and really hasn't been through all the process completely. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, but that was something that we didn't even, Harry, again, that was something that you had presented to the council, but that's nothing that it was a consensus of something that we wanted to see in the actual caregivers facilities piece.
Right.
Yeah, so that you can just strike that all the way together, and then if that's something that the council wants us to go back to planning to go through, then that's what we'll do. But as far as that, the caregiver facilities tonight is just to be able to zone them into one area, and then to, of course, put a licensing fee on the facility to be able to get some revenue into our coffers. So nothing more, nothing less. Stay with what the state is regulating already. I believe in your packet you should have a licensing process from the state of Michigan in order to be a caregiver. I don't know, Harry, if you got a chance to make sure that everyone got that.
I believe it's all in the package, Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's part of the memos that I included in the package about caregivers.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So the 24 plants and all of that stuff, again, I think that all of us can agree that that's kind of sticky. You don't want to get off into that. You have a ruling before you with the Supreme Court that basically said that we do have the authority to be able to set up caregiver facilities in zones in our community. At the same time, we don't want to impose on the state as it relates to a person that's growing the marijuana in their home under lock and key under the rules that's provided by the state. I don't think we should try to get off into anything like that, but it's totally up to this body.
Okay. All right. So we're not going to be dealing with any type of plant restriction or citizens' right violations by saying one thing that the state doesn't say.
Correct. Yes, ma'am. Correct.
So when we get to that section, we can just do away with it.
Yes, ma'am. Correct.
All right. The other thing is that there was a request to the three of us made a request to have a attorney general decision, and that was not done. Is there a reason why that was not done?
Harry, can you speak to that?
Mayor, yeah, I'll be glad to address that. The reason it's not done is because there's a Supreme Court decision, which was included in your package of the Dozier case. The Attorney General can give an opinion about what the law states, how the law is interpreted. But the Supreme Court, the Michigan courts, well, first Court of Appeal, then the Michigan Supreme Court, has the final word. Since the Michigan Supreme Court has already issued an opinion about caregiver licenses and the ability of communities to the fact that, number one, caregiver activity is permitted and allowed under the Medical Marijuana Act, and state and cities cannot stop it. But two, more importantly for us, we are within our rights to regulate that activity. That was a unanimous opinion from the Michigan Supreme Court. Once the Michigan Supreme Court takes a stand on something like that, there's nothing for the Attorney General left to say. So that's why I did not go. You do not have an opinion from the Attorney General.
And you arbitrarily decided not to do that?
There is no reason to do that. The Supreme Court has spoken.
That
the Supreme Court is the final word on it.
Asked you to. That's the reason.
Yeah, I think go ahead, Harry.
My duty is to bring information to the council that is pertinent and controlling. The Supreme Court decision is controlling. It does not matter what the Attorney General says at this point because regarding caregivers and the regulation of caregivers by by municipalities, because the Supreme Court has set the rules for that and said what it is. So there's no place for the Attorney General at this point. It would be a waste of time. I would have charged you money for things that were worthless.
Well, you charge us money for a lot of things that are worthless.
Oh, Lord.
But here's the question that I would like to, ask in connection with this. You gave us tons of case law, but not one of these case laws was there a synopsis to explain what you were trying to get across.
I wrote a memo about that. I wrote a 3-page memo to explain what was going on.
If I may, Mr. Mayor,
please,
just briefly, the Attorney General's office does not honor every request for a legal opinion. A municipality, a prosecutor, a municipal attorney can request a Attorney General's opinion on something, and they use their discretion to accept, reject, or refer. So Harry could have likely requested, or the mayor could have requested a legal opinion, and the Attorney General would have most likely referred back to the case law that was pertinent at issue. It's not something that's just granted because a person requested. I just wanted to provide that for the body.
All right. Councilwoman Wiley?
Yes, I guess I'm just basically interested in, because we've been told we could add to this ordinance, and we have not seen any of the suggestions we've made in it. We have asked for certain things from the attorneys that we haven't gotten. All I'm trying to determine is at what point are we able to interact with them as we're supposed to do, as members of the legislative body of this government, and have some results, not that they just decide what they will and won't give.
Well, I mean, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing now. That's what we have been doing. And, again, you use the word "we" loosely. So I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. If it's something that you're asking for, ask for it, and let's see if we can make sure that we can get it for you. But I totally understand the reasoning.
Emails. I've asked for certain things to be included, and none of this has ever happened. So I'm, like I said, this whole document is extremely confusing because it's gone through numerous reincarnations, and I'm just trying to get a handle on it so I can make the best decision for the constituents I represent in the city at large.
I totally agree. I totally understand. That's what we're doing right now. So if it's something that you like to see or something you like to see taken out, added in, those comments should be made right now so we can move this process forward.
Okay, I would like, well then, if that's the case, I would like to see the medical facilities exclusively paired with the recreational license so that we can maintain the level of 3 within the city.
Okay. You made a comment. You made a comment for something to be written in, and then of course we have to vote on that. So what would that fall under, Harry? Would that fall under the drug-free zones for the 1,000 feet?
Well, first of all, correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor, but this is a orientation session,
Correct.
We're not really in council yet. So it would have to come through the council. And first of all, once council's in session and we are actually talking about one of these ordinances in front of us, and at that point, any changes could be made by amending any piece of this that any council member wants. You would say, I want to amend section whatever and add this or delete that. And somebody would have to second it. You'd have discussion on what on the change you want to make, and then vote on whether or not you want to incorporate that change. That's in the course of the discussion as this comes up at the regular council meeting. No decisions are being made right now at this point.
Thank you. Thank you for the correction. All right, then. So everyone heard that. We're moving this process forward. If it's something that you want to see done, of course, you move it and we get a second on it and we discuss it and we vote on it. Just if anything else that we've been doing. So is there any more questions or discussion? Well, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Wiley, you still had the floor. Did you have anything else?
That would be it for right now. Thank you.
Okay. All right, ma'am. Thank you. Anyone else from the body?
Just to get a clarification, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councilman Williams.
The part that came out of Dearborn with the 24 plants, that's not in the ordinance that we voting on tonight. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay.
All right, Councilman Shaw.
I have a question on the action. Can you hear me? Can you hear me,
yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir. We can.
All right. The memo that Mr. Harry wrote about the action Inkster could take. One of the things he was talking about is the information that we can have by regulating these facilities, by inspections and what have you. Couldn't we get that information already by the registry of the MRA?
I think HIPAA law wouldn't allow you to do that. You can't find out caregivers and patients. You just couldn't call and ask if a person is a caregiver or a patient, unless here you got something.
Well, I was going to say, I don't think that the MRA would have any information about the physical structure either, which is, part of licensing would allow you then to, anyway, this is, it's very limited what you can get from MRA.
So by having this business license and would give us the information that we need so that we can regulate, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now with that, we haven't got a fee structure yet, or how we're going to charge caregivers.
Well, yeah, then that comes with the business license process. But from what I've been understanding, what I've been hearing all along is that it's also too based off a resolution from council, and the standard fee now for any marijuana use is $5,000 per year per license. So I would ask that that's the max that we would continue on that same frame if this is passed.
So with caregivers, I mean that's pretty small to charge $5,000.
Well, you can only charge that constitutionally, sir. The city can't. The city can't charge any more than that.
Now also with the commercial buildings, now is there anything that we can charge far as the construction or how it looks outside for the building? If you go caregivers facility?
Well, you would. I think the main thing that you would be charging is again the business licensing fee, along with the inspections and things of that nature. Just constitutional within the rights of us as a city, and then of course the private owner of the building.
So nothing we can do far as making it look a little bit more business friendly, because a lot of these buildings that they are growing out of now is really not conducive to the way we want the city to look.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I want to get a hold of them to the best of our ability, especially along Inkster Road and Middle Belt.
Because of them looking plain. I mean, we would definitely want them to be some sort of outside construction being done to those buildings so that they can look nice to the city.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I understand the regulation of regulating them into a certain area, because that's very vital. I think that's what the city of Dearborn did, which had a great model for us to really kind of model. They didn't get too strict. They got a little strict in some of their things, which we don't have to get too strict in some of the things that Dearborn did, but it was a great model that they had.
Yep. I totally agree.
Right, that's the only question I have right now, Mr. Chair.
All right, sounds good then. And just for clarification, as it relates to the agenda itself, under the second reading, splitting those into two items, medical marijuana caregiver facilities as one item, action item, and then two would be drug-free zones per the recommendation of the Planning Commission. That will deal with our buffers and barriers and things of that nature. And then in item number 3 would just be the micro business facilities. That way we're all on the same page. When we go to approve the agenda. Okay. And then taking off, I would need a motion on previous business to take off marijuana business licenses remove it from the table, and then actually add it to new business into item G. And then any licenses that we approve, if we approve any, great. If we do, then those business licenses will fall underneath what we have already as it relates to resolution and how that looks moving forward as it relates to a business license process through the administration.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead and listen.
Now, I didn't see the misdemeanor felony on the license or any of the previous readings. So I know we had a situation where a applicant was denied because of a misdemeanor. I mean, because of a felony. So I didn't see that.
Well, I think it's just consistent with the same thing that we already have, and leaving it the same way that you have it already as it relates to the misdemeanors. Just because you had applicants or business owners that were denied because of misdemeanors, we don't want to necessarily open up a can of worms for us by changing that. So we want to keep it to that same level. But we know in the state law that you can't have a felony. So we basically capture in all of it together.
Within the misdemeanor.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, because that's what I was thinking, is that we don't want to get into a situation where somebody comes back and say, well, now y'all change it to this and we had a misdemeanor.
That's right. Exactly. I totally agree.
All right. As long as you understand what I'm saying.
Oh, yes, sir.
All right, that's all I have.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, I have a concern.
Go ahead.
It's not an agenda item, but it's a concern since we're in
it's orientation. Go ahead.
Orientation. I have a serious problem. Okay, now I know this for a fact that, one while we had a little incident on the Zoom for as running our meetings, but I don't see no reason why we doesn't allow the citizens to also video that they're in also if they want to have the privileges, because I know they're doing it everywhere else. and they bringing their photos in like that coming in with the Zoom. And why is it that we're not doing it? Allowing them to do that. Because by right, they should. If they want to come in the Zoom and show their face. And then what made me really want to bring that out is, just like I think it was, what's his name, Mr. Black, used somebody else's name and came in, but you happen to recognize who he was?
Yeah.
Okay, why is it that if the citizen wants to bring in, and I think it's more fruitful for us to allow them to bring in their photos with their name on it?
Yeah, we've been looking at a couple of different ways to do it, and we were looking at webinars, and we were going to basically allow, and that's what the city of Westland is using. They're using what is called the webinar platform in Zoom to be able to allow, like you said, to have everybody populated with their pictures, and also too, of course, they can see what we're doing, and we can see what they're doing. But you have to register, and according to talking to the administration and the city clerk, we basically came up with people shouldn't be registering as they come into a public meeting. They shouldn't have to register their stuff. So we're looking for another way to do it securely. So hopefully by the first of the year, we'll have it under wraps. And it may be another cost that comes along with that, a little bit more training for us on the staff part of it. Because like right now you have Troy doing it by itself along with Councilman Chisholm pretty much aiding with the security measures of it all and just trying to keep everything flowing. So we're going to come to something here really soon, just because we know that it's going to possibly be even extended as it relates to us going and using virtual meetings. So I totally agree with you. Okay,
but even we could use this Zoom once it is, because our hostess have the authority to either shut them down, silence them and various stuff like that. So yeah. They've done a great job with it. So I don't see no reason why we couldn't try it, see what will happen.
Well, even tonight, if you're looking at most of the participants are coming in, they do have video capabilities. So right. I just thinking with the new platform that we're using, because we had to move and to pay for a different platform. So I know that just with security measures, we want to make sure people aren't putting anything up that's obscene or anything up that of course is disrespectful to us or the process. So. Yeah, I totally agree with you, though. I think they should at least be able to see us in Zoom instead of just hearing our voices. So we're working on it, Councilman. Did you have anything else on that, sir?
No, sir.
Okay. We got 15 minutes before the general meeting start. I don't know if you guys want to try to hit in closed session, if we got anything for closed session. But we know that can kind of drag on a little bit. If you guys want, we can take a pause right now and come back at 7 o'clock. It's totally up to you. Anybody object to that? Pausing here and coming back at 7.
Do we got any closed session items?
David?
Yes, we have 5. We'll be going into closed session to discuss Crowder, McGill, Sobey, which is SOBH, Blackwell, and Miller Canfield.
Okay. You guys heard, you want to try to knock out 1 or 2 now?
I think that was short in time.
Try to knock out 1 or 2 now? Okay. Let's go into closed session and let's have a motion.
So move.
Support. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard?
Yes.
Councilmember Washington?
Yes.
Councilmember Shaw?
Yes.
Councilmember Chisholm?
Yes.
Mayor, we have 6 yeas.
Right, so move. We're going to go into closed session. We're going to try to get back out on time as soon as we possibly can, as close to 7 as we can. Troy, if you can get us over into closed session. David, is there anybody that you need to come in?
Yes, Eric Ladez is on the call. He needs to be invited into closed session. And I think Matt Wayne, even though he won't be discussing anything, he's with our office as well.
Eric Ladez and Mike Wayne. Okay.
Matthew Wayne.
I'm sorry, Matthew Wayne. Gotcha. All right, Troy, we can pull us in a closed session and then post that for us, please. John D. Hearns, if you don't mind giving our prayer for tonight, just raise your hand, please. I know it's a virtual hand. I want to make sure that as we get into calling the meeting to order, we can go right into the meeting. So John D. Hearns, Jr., would you mind doing the prayer for tonight?
If he doesn't know how to raise his hand, not saying that he doesn't, we could send him.
He did raise his hand.
All right, we got him. There he is. Perfect.
There he is.
All right, good then.
Good evening.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another meeting of the Inkster City Council. Today's date is December the 7th, 2020. The time is now 7:10 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Would you all rise with me and pledge allegiance to the flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. You remain standing, and Pastor Hearns, if you could, please.
Let us look to the Lord in prayer. Most gracious and kind God, we come before thy presence on this day as humbly as we know how, understanding that you are the author and the finisher of our faith. Lord, as we go into this meeting on this evening, we invite your holy presence to come in. And we pray, Lord God, that you will shed down upon this council the necessary wisdom and knowledge to lead this city in the direction that will be to its best benefit. We beseech your blessings upon each council member and every employee of the city that serves the citizens of the great city of Inkster. So we ask right now, Lord, that everything we do be sanctioned by your grace and your mercy. It's in Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Pastor, roll call, please.
Mayor Wimberly.
Here in Inkster City Hall.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Howard. Mayor Pro Tem Howard. I think you're on mute.
Okay. I see. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'm here in my home in Inkster.
Councilwoman Wiley.
Yes, present from Inkster, County of Wayne, State of Michigan.
Councilman Williams.
Here at home in the city of Inkster.
Councilwoman Washington.
Present remotely in my home in the city of Inkster.
Councilman Chisholm.
Present remotely from Inkster, Michigan, County of Wayne.
And Councilman Shaw.
Yes, I'm here, Inkster, Michigan.
Mayor, we have 7 present tonight, and we do have a quorum.
All right, then let's get right off into it. Approval of the agenda with changes that we said that we would do under item B, actually 8, item B, second reading, to split those into 2 votes and 2 motions and 2 votes. One for the medical marijuana caregiver facilities as 1, and then the other as a drug-free zone 2. And then you'll move down to the second reading to 3.
And in the previous business to remove it from the table and then put the item under, as item G under new business?
Correct. All right. What's your pleasure?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Support.
Moved and supported. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Chisholm?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Before I vote, we're still separating all those licenses under G so we can address them each separately.
Once you get to G, you are able to address those, make motions separately.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard?
Yes.
Councilmember Washington?
Yes.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
And Councilmember Shaw?
Yes.
We have 6 yeas, Mayor.
All right, moving right along. All right, presentation, Booker Dozier Recreation Complex renovations. I am so excited to announce that Wayne County, through the Community Development Block Grant, awarded the city of Inkster $800,000 for Booker T. Dozier's renovations of the Booker T. Dozier complex as is existing now. Of course, the city of Inkster has to accept the award. I just wanted to make clear that no monies are having to come from the cities of Inkster's coffers. So we won't have to spend a dime for the monies. The actual, basically everything that will happen at the complex will be facilitated by an agent from the Community Development Block Grants team, working, of course, with us in administration as it relates to the plan and the overall renovations of the complex. Back in 2006, Community Advocacy Committee was organized to pass a millage to enhance the programs provided by Senior Services and Parks and Recreation for the city of Inkster. The millage passed by over 80% of the voters, and they basically said that they wanted to have a senior center as well. So during that time, monies were set aside for a feasibility study that was completed in 2007. And during that time, spearheaded with the group of folks from the community. Special shout out to Theola Jones, who has since passed on, her and Denise Champagne, and then also to former Mayor Hampton. As it relates to the Senior Facility Center, it was going to be located at the recreation complex. The recreation complex is approximately about 45,000 square feet right now of racquetball courts, basketball facilities inside of the building, of course, a couple of lounge areas, and then just open space. So what they were looking to do was to add another facility onto the existing recreation complex, which would be the senior center. And in this project altogether, the overall project was roughly about $3 million. And during that time, I had the pleasure of sitting on that council in 2008, where we actually went after monies for the development. We weren't able to get it. So this year, earlier on with the Community Block Grant, each year you can put a major project forward each year. We put this project forward back from 2008, and they took on the first part of the project, which we're going to look forward to them taking on the next 2 phases of the project, building out the actual senior center. But the first part of the project was the renovations of the existing complex, which we're working in conjunction with the county and, of course, Denise Champagne and, of course, the senior advisory committee to get all of the amenities that we can within it as of now. And I just wanted to bring it towards the council and, ask that we accept this grant, saying, again, it's not going to cost us a penny. We're not going to have to spend any of our money or even any of our resources to be able to get this done. Of course, any ideas that you have as it relates to the overall look of the facility and how we want it to play out, we're definitely going to be presenting that to you. Alex Legion, our director of Parks and Rec, is on the line now. He actually talked to the Parks and Rec committee about this entire project. And then, of course, we want to get their input on how it's going to look. We got contractors that'll be coming in to give us, basically an estimate on the work that they'll be able to do. But we have $800,000 to do it. So I wanted to present it to the council, get your support to be able to move this forward.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Support. So
Is it city clerk? I see you over there. Is it something that we need? I mean, of course, the money's not going to be coming into our coffers at all. It'll be going through the county, and the county's going to administrate it. Is it something that we need to? Of course, it's our building, and we own the actual facility. So, what do we need to do?
So you're just making a motion to accept the grant, basically.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Make a motion. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been moved and properly supported. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Shaw?
Yes.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
Councilmember Washington?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard? Mayor Pro Tem.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Watley?
Yes.
And Councilmember Chisholm?
Yes.
Mayor, we have 6 yeas.
All right, motion carries. So we do have the actual packet from the county. If you do know any contractors that's out there that would like to bid on this particular work, local, we're looking for local people to be able to do as much work as we possibly can have done. And of course, we wanted to have it at the highest quality that we could have it. So we do have that link that'll be posted on our website. Troy will be making sure that we had that information set up. So I think he actually posted a little bit of it right now as it relates to the request for proposal and the timeline regarding that, but it is going to be on our website. All right, moving right along. Consent agenda.
So move.
Your support?
Support.
All right, moving properly supported. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard?
Yeah, here. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's okay. Councilmember Washington?
Yes.
Councilmember Shaw?
Yes.
Councilmember Chisholm?
Yes.
And Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Mayor, we have 6 yeas.
All right. Motion carries. Moving right along. Going around boards and commissions. I did see an email from you earlier. Do we have to we have to reappoint Councilwoman Wiley back to the pension board today?
Yes.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
So move.
So moved is this so I'm gonna support at the same time? Moved and supported?
Support.
All right. Councilwoman Wiley, you accept it?
Yes.
Continue to serve on the pension board? Good. All right then. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Chisholm?
Yes.
Councilmember Shaw?
Yes.
Councilmember Washington?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard?
Yes.
And Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
Mayor, we have 5 yeas.
All right.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I see that we have Miss Octavia Smith and Pastor Gene Oberman on the cable commission. I know they on the line, so I don't know if they want to accept to be reappointed. It's in District 4 and 5.
Okay, so those appointments need to come from District 4 and District 5.
Mayor, if I may interject, I don't know about Ms. Smith, but Pastor Overman resigned.
Okay.
He sent a letter in to us.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
I would ask for Miss Smith, just let me talk to her first and see, because she hadn't brought it to my attention. I'm not sure how her schedule and everything is, so let's discuss with her for moving forward with the reappointment.
All right.
She actually.
Okay, good, yeah. I mean, because those are your appointments in District 4 and District 5. And I see she has her hand raised. I don't necessarily want to be out of order. So, Stephen, you want to have an off-cuff conversation with her?
Yes.
All right, cool then. All right. All right, is there any others? Okay. I know I got the hottest appointment the hottest appointment in the city right now is the housing appointment. I just want to make sure, again, that I give the council all the information that it's required. The potential person that I'm looking at appointing to the housing commission needs to just fill out the last little piece of information for the city clerk. And then I need to send it around to the council so you guys all have that information. So I'm not going to prolong this any more. By the 21st, we'll have an appointment for the Housing Commission. I just want to make sure that we're doing everything right. That way you don't have to ask me to come back and give you any more information as we release that person's name. But I know that the service is going to be great. I'm really excited about the appointment. All right. Did you have something, Councilwoman Wash?
For the board of review, for the reappointment for the alternate, I spoke with Peggy Bishop, and she said she did want to be reappointed because it looked like her term ends October the 7th, 2020.
So it ended already. All
Yeah.
right. So are you making a motion to?
Yes, reappoint her.
Support.
And what board is that?
Board of review.
All right. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Shaw?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard?
Yes.
Councilmember Chisholm?
Yes.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
Councilmember Watley?
Yes.
And Councilmember Washington? Yes. Mayor, we have 6 yeas.
All right, then. Any others? All right, hearing none, moving right along to previous business. I'm asking that this item be removed from the table and then actually repositioned at item G under new business. Can I get a motion for that?
So move.
For support? Then moved and support. Any discussion on what I just said? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Watley?
Yes.
Councilmember Washington? Yes. Councilmember Chisholm?
Yes.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard?
Yes.
And Councilmember Shaw?
Yes.
Mayor, we have 6 yeas on this item.
All right, perfect. So that'll become item G under new business for the marijuana business license. All right. All right, moving right along. Let's get off into the second reading. City Clerk, please.
Yeah, number 1 under second reading and approval is of the text amendments for the city zoning ordinance pertaining to provisions for medical marijuana caregiver facilities.
What's your pleasure?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Your support? All right, discussion. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mayor, before
I'm
you
sorry,
get
go
started,
ahead. Yes, ma'am.
This is the zoning ordinance, correct? Pertaining to medical marijuana caregiver facility.
Correct.
Okay. Reference the marijuana caregiver facility. It's a grower facility, is it not?
Correct.
Okay, and we have an ordinance that states that all grow facilities go in the M1 district. However, this has been zoned for B3. And it appears to constitute spot zoning. Now, no one's saying he can't have a caregiver facility. However, he should be in the rest of the area where other growers are, because this provides a slippery slope. Because we have no way of denying other people who are don't like where they are in the designated zoning area and want to challenge us or want to go somewhere else. And if we do this for this person, then we'll have to do it for other people. Point in case, the person that is attempting to buy the dog shelter, and he's going to need to go through all of this. Well, we have very little recourse in denying him if we approve this. And so this zoning for that area, it's not part of the master plan. It's contrary to the master plan. And it also, like I said, creates a problem as far as the other growers not having the opportunity to have put their facility outside of the area that was designated for it. So I think we're leaving ourselves open to additional litigation if we allow one person, and this is one individual who doesn't want to be in the M1 district, but that's where he has to be.
It's actually, you know, and I'm sorry, Councilwoman, are you done?
No, I know you were going to say there are several others, but
yes.
Are these other people going to be allowed up on Michigan Avenue then?
Well, I'm talking about so let's just talk about the space that we're talking about on Michigan Avenue in between Henry Ruff and Michigan Avenue. Mm-hmm. You have the Sighting World facility that would actually love to be a part of this program that has petitioned us to the administration to come before the Zoning Board of Appeals to rezone that area, which they used to be M1 back until M1, which was the designated growing area. But because of the master plan and changes to the zoning code, it was changed from M1 to B3, which that's what the community wanted. I'm assuming that's what happened. However, so you have the Sighting World, you actually have the furniture places there, and then you have two other buildings that's on the other end that would love to take advantage of this caregiver model if it's available. So it's not. I just don't want to make it seem like it's just one individual. Now, as we talk about the M1, and you said it, the previous administration allowed unlimited grow facilities in that area, and those are Class A, B, and C licenses, allowing you to grow up to 1,500 plants in those areas. We're looking to have a caregiver facility where it's actually regulated into one area, because right now what's happening throughout our major thoroughfares in the city of Inkster, we have buildings that are being used to grow marijuana inside of them. And we want to be able to say to those people, you can't grow in this area, but you can grow into this area. And then to be able to charge a fee to be able to do that, which is $5,000 a year per caregiver facility or suite. Because we want to be able to have, if you can have 10 under one roof, just like we're talking about with the micro businesses, then we're talking about $50,000 a year coming into the city's coffers. And we are able to regulate that.
But right now, we're only talking about allowing this to be zoned in that area, which is not designated for. So,
well, we make the laws and we make the decisions. So,
and that's why I'm trying to make a law and a decision where it doesn't become an issue for us later on through the spot zoning. And
you said spot zoning, but I would say that Harry needs to speak to that, because I don't think that's what we're doing.
Well, if nothing else is zoned, if it's a facility that belongs in another area, but you're allowing an area to zone for it, then that's spot zoning. No.
Well, this is something.
Let Harry speak to it then.
Yeah, because this is you're talking about cultivating facilities versus caregiver facilities, so it's two different things. But go ahead, Harry.
Mayor, you're right about that. And again, this is a zoning ordinance, so it's where something can happen. It's not really all the regulations; it's where something can happen. And this ordinance, these proposals in front of you. Number one, it defines what a caregiver facility is, and that's located, section 155.029. We're adding a definition for marijuana caregiver facility, which is different than these other growers. So we're identifying a use related to the medical marijuana provisions, and then we're saying where that use can be located. And we do that with all of our things. That doesn't make it spot zoning just because you say you can only have this business in this area. We're only going to have factories in an industrial zone. That doesn't make it spot zoning. That means we've identified an area where it can be. We're identifying in this proposal in front of you, B3, entertainment zones, as a place where medical marijuana caregiver grow facilities can be located.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Hold on one second, Councilwoman Wiley.
I feel, like I said, real reticent
Reserve.
about us allowing this. I feel it is contrary, like I said, to the master plan. It leaves us open for litigations if someone else should want to do it and we deny them, but we've approved it for someone else. Well, like I said, I'll step back at this point, but I do not feel that this is beneficial to the city of.
Yeah, and I tell you, I just, at this point, Councilwoman, and just like I know that we're in dire straits as it relates to revenue. And this is just an additional revenue source that I'm trying to capture. At the same time, I'm trying to regulate it into an area so then I can actually go after those pretenders that's actually growing marijuana in these commercial buildings up and down Easter Road and Middle Belt and Henry Ruff. So it's just what it is. I'm not trying to take away anything that's happening in the state. The state actually has a regulation as it relates to caregivers and patients. And Harry pointed towards the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruling said that we can regulate this. So we know that it is happening. It's not only happening in our community, it's happening right next door in Dearborn, Garden City, Wayne on the other side. So for us to say that we're not going to do anything, we're just going to continue to just let it happen and not regulate it is beyond me, if that's the case. I'm not saying that the council has not made a final decision. At the same time, you and I both know that we need all the revenue that we possibly can get because we're in financial dire straits.
Well,
unless we get some more revenue, go ahead.
In speaking to that, this marijuana, this medical marijuana caregiver facility, that's just one facility, right?
It possibly can be, but you have other buildings in that area that can take advantage of it.
And we're talking about one time, so that's $5,000. The other people that you're bringing in this are not facilities. You know what I'm saying? So how is it you can charge them?
It would be a facility. I'm sorry, man. I don't mean to step on you. I apologize. Go ahead.
But I'm saying, how can you charge them $5,000 when you've already charged the person who owns the facility $5,000? They're utilizing the facility that's already been licensed, and you're going to charge them another $5,000.
Yeah.
I guess I'm confused as to how that works because there's only one facility and then their occupants. It's like, buying an apartment building and then charging everybody the same thing you charge for the apartment. I mean, the building instead of
that was a really good point.
Apartment.
That was a really good point because it's exactly like that. So it's an apartment building, and everybody in the apartment pay a price, and the price is $5,000. Yes.
And that is not exorbitant when the state only charges $115.
No, that's not absorbent at all. I think that's a fair price. You're talking about per year, a license, and you're regulating them per year. And if you do a facility, you'll have them all into one area. Say if you can do 10, you got 10 under one roof, just like we're proposing with the micro businesses.
But these same people going in that facility can grow at home for free.
Well, I mean, it's a difference. It's definitely a difference when you talk about commercial versus residential and your footprint doing business. Okay, I totally understand.
Now I'm totally confused because the people you're taking to grow in this facility are residents that are growing.
We're not talking about residents. We're not talking about residents. We're not talking about residents. I want to make sure that that's clear and that's defined. I'm not talking about residents. I'm talking about commercial businesses right now, commercial buildings in our community that's being used to grow marijuana. And that's a fact. If you don't know it, I understand, but I'm out here. I see it. the chief of police can verify it with me. Right now, we put necessary steps in to go into certain facilities to be able to see what they're doing. At the same time, if you don't regulate it, they can be all over the place. And that's what we're trying to do now. We're trying to get them into one area so then we can say this is the defined area, and then I can knock out any of those pretenders that's not supposed to be doing it in that area because it's not zoned properly.
As I stated before, this is convoluted, but I will step back and let other council members ask any questions they may have.
All right. Councilwoman Mayor Pro Tem Howard, did you have something? I saw you.
Yes. When you say marijuana caregiver facilities, it's regulated by the state, right?
Correct.
Okay, so now if this body decides to go with this for our city, who's going to regulate that?
Well, it's still the state. So it's just like it's the same. So, okay. It's the same thing that's happening with the dispensary license and your cultivating license. You have to go through the state, go through background check, go through whatever measures they have, but you have to be ordained by the city. And when I say ordained, it has to be an ordinance in place by the city. So that's the same thing now. We don't have an ordinance in place for it at all. So right now, a person can just grow any way that they want to.
Okay, so they can grow anywhere they want to, but the state is giving them the license to grow, correct?
Correct. It's just like right now.
So I'm like Sandra now. If I have my license to grow at home, why would I want to come there? I think that's just opening up the doors for a lot of stuff. And who's going to regulate as far as the policing if the body decides to go with this?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically through the building department. You would get your license, you would get inspected, and it'll be an annual inspection, just like everything else that we're doing. Right now, again, what you guys are missing, you're missing the bigger point in all of this. I get what you're saying. People have choices in how they do business. Right now, we are not regulating it at all, and we can regulate it. So
okay. Well, hold on 1 second. Hold on before I lose my train of thought, Mr. Mayor. I'm not trying to.
No, go ahead.
But when you said regulated, we only going to be able to regulate this facility once we approve this in the zoning, right? In this ordinance. This is the only part we're going to be able to regulate, right?
No.
Right.
Huh? Is that what you're saying?
That area, yes. That area, yes.
Okay, so why not put something on the books that's saying that if that's something that the council wants to do, that you can't, I mean, what is the state saying when these people are growing up and down Michigan Avenue and in Inkster Road? They saying it's okay, right?
Correct.
So if we do the ordinance and just say, I'm not sure what you can say, but I still don't understand how you're going to be able to regulate this. I really don't. I mean, we can pass this ordinance. That means how many can be coming in here going up on Michigan Avenue versus in their homes. Now, does the state say anything that they can grow it in a building?
Right. And that's where again, if Harry, you can speak to that judgment that came down, that's where the clarity has to come in at and understand that the city has the right to do it, to actually regulate it to where, go ahead, Harry, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, Mayor, and I'll try to keep it brief. That case happened in Byron Township. Well, first of all, let me back up and say, Councilwoman Howard, nobody can be a caregiver, which means that you can grow plants for other patients, up to 6 people altogether, 72 plants, unless you're licensed by the state. But that's the only thing that the state really does is give you permission to grow those plants. Now you can grow, they have to be in a locked container, closet, locked basement, whatever. But they've got to be in a closed, secure area. That's really all the state says. Byron Township, in that case that I attached with the thing, the basic idea was that this woman rented a commercial building and started growing 72 plants. Byron Township, their choice was to only allow people to grow marijuana, caregivers, in their homes as a home-based business only. Could only be in your house. That's the way they wanted to go. So when they closed down this woman in a commercial building, she sued. Ultimately, the Supreme Court said, nope, Byron Township was entitled to set the rules and regulations for their community of how this business is, where it can be, how much, what can happen in their community, as long as they don't prohibit it totally. What you've got coming over here is a way to say, my understanding is that the goal of this is to try to move it out of the residence. And so we're finding a place outside of a residential zone where people can do this. Once they're licensed by the state, this is where we say they can do the business.
Okay.
The residential areas, out of the residential areas, because those buildings abut those residents up in those, the buildings that folks are growing in now, they basically are in our residents. They're like right next door to people's houses.
And I'm sure there's some going on in some houses too.
But they going in it's, I mean, even though they in, what's the difference between you being next to a house that's growing the same thing? What's the difference? They can still grow up to the same amount of plants, correct?
Yep, for sure.
But what is the difference though? What's the difference between being next door to a house that sells or being next to a building?
Well, the building, you can have a larger footprint. And then the building, too, we want to use for other things versus all marijuana. You know, I would like to see a grocery store or some type of bodega type of thing where you have, you know, tropical smoothie and, you know, retail space along Inkster Road. But if you got where you're allowing folks right now or where you don't have any, you can't regulate it, where folks just doing what they want to do, then that's just where we're at right now. And we got so many buildings, so many vacant buildings. I'm just trying to get a hold of these buildings.
So are these vacant buildings up under our jurisdiction? Are there our vacant buildings?
But they're private. They're private, so they can do what they want to do in them right now. And
okay,
then,
so who wants you to do this caregivers facilities? Who's to say they're not going to still grow it there?
Well, and then that's where we impose our will. And that's why we're trying to put something on the books. Because right now you don't have anything on the books. So right now you just let it just do whatever it's going to do.
So what if we decide if we could? I mean, we can't decide. We can't say that they can't grow it in the building because of the lawsuit that he just cited. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand. I mean, people are tired of this, okay? And that's what and I understand we need to put something on the books. But I don't want it to be rezoned right there. I think that maybe if I don't know what we would do. I mean, I just don't know on this instance because now we're allowing, because people are not coming out their homes. So, and they might not even come out those buildings. For real. So we just add, and so in other words, we're gonna put something in that zone, so that means some more people can come in and do it. And the ones that's doing buildings right now are going to continue. So it's almost like we changing the ordinance, but at the same time, we add more people in our city.
Yeah, they're just doing it anyway. They're out of control. That's the thing. We need controls and regulations. So you're saying you got one good point, but then you're saying just let them do whatever they want to do. So we need to regulate.
They're going to do it anyway, Mayor. I mean, come on now. They're going to do it anyway. I mean, we can check
that's been a past practice, but we don't want to allow that to continue to happen.
So what kind of manpower do we have to regulate this?
It's the same thing that's going on right now with the 37 cultivating centers. What manpower do we have to do that?
Okay.
So it's the same thing. Let's really talk about it, you know? So what we're trying to do again is create revenue and regulate it.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. Is there a way that the people that's in the buildings that you are trying to move out, mm-hmm. they're the ones to get the license in the building? We don't want no more new people.
Okay.
So can we regulate it like that.
Yeah. I mean, why couldn't you?
And then when you talk about revenue, it's going to take some time. I mean, is the building already there, or they got to build it?
Oh, the building's already there that we're proposing. As it relates to the caregiver facility, for sure.
Mr. Chairman, can I say this?
Be a full-blown
when she get through.
I'm done. I yield.
When she get through, let me say this.
No, you go ahead.
First of all, and it's really something that we all need to put on our minds. Okay, and I think the problem is how this has come up with this particular area need to regulate these growth facilities, because if we don't, that means they can grow all over the city. Ain't nothing you can say to them, okay, because you don't have it regulated in certain areas. That's the purpose of us coming up with the zone, but they won't be able to go over in this particular district or that particular district and just grow, okay? So we had to try to come up with something that we can regulate it. Now, you made a good point, Sister Howard, when you indicated about folks can grow all over the city of Inkster, okay, in their houses and various things like that. And that's what I'm asking Harry to look into now, is about the part is, even if they allow, the state of Michigan allow them to go in this house, we still can regulate some conditions on these homes. You see what I'm saying? That it won't get out of hand. So these are things that we need to be sitting across the table, getting it regulated, where we be able to keep a control over this whole pit. Because right now, we don't have any zoning for any of that right now, so therefore they can grow anywhere.
I have a question. I'm not sure if you are done, Councilman Webb.
Go ahead, Sister West.
I had 2 or 3 questions, I guess. With Mayor Pro Tem was saying, how do we kind of seize cultivation in those commercial buildings? And then what would those penalties be? And then also for the caregiver facility, would that be for only Inkster residents, or someone in Dearborn or whatever can really come and do that at that facility?
Yeah, I think that, we would have to put that into the business, both of those things that you said, we would have to put those into the business regulations, if that's the case.
Right.
We would have to outline that and say, okay, it's a $500 fine. I think the city of Dearborn has something like that, $500 fine, 90 days in jail or something like that if you're caught doing it in a commercial building and not in this particular zone. We can do that, I believe, enact that with the business license process. Also, too, adding on, that you have to be an Inkster resident in order to, or 50% Inkster resident, whatever we want to say. My thing is, at the end of the day, that this is happening, we need to regulate it, and then we need to bring in revenue. We need to drive revenue. At the end of the day, I know that, folks are like, hey, not just marijuana. Of course, I'm not all about marijuana. I'm not. I understand business. And at the end of the day, the state and the country has said that marijuana is legal. So we need to look at our community and how we regulate it. And we shouldn't have it all over the place. And we should be trying to capitalize on every dollar we possibly can. So that's just my kickback on that.
So that can actually be added to the amendment, or are you saying it has to be a business license?
No, I mean, you could put it into the business license and say this is only for, Inkster residents, and these are the actual stipulations as it relates to if someone's caught doing it. I believe that's part of the ordinance itself. But Harry, I'm not the attorney. Harry, can you speak to that?
Yeah, Councilwoman Washington, again, we're talking right now about the zoning ordinance, and that's really where this activity would be permitted in the city. And I've heard a few people ask, well, what happens if somebody goes somewhere else? Well, once you say it can be here and not there, if you put it in the wrong place, people can get fined, people can get shut down. It's, that gives you some opportunities to control and where these things go. Your other point about residents and things like that, that would be in the business licensing ordinance, separate ordinance, which sets up, fees and schedules and things like that. So right now we're talking about where.
Okay. And then also with the commercial buildings, for those that are growing in those commercial buildings or abandoned or vacant buildings, I guess I would say, how would you actually know? Like, some, but how do you actually catch all of them?
But the thing is that once we start, what I initiated this year was a business license checkup. And, we knocked on every door for the most part in the city, and, the code enforcement wrote notes down and put in different things, said, okay, this is vacant, this is being used for this is used for that. However, each year would be that. And we would encourage folks as their buildings continue being vacant, they're privately owned. Hey, what are you doing with the building? Setting them up with working with our realtor if they need to sell the building, or, working out a program to figure out something that we can put into that particular building that's consistent along with the master plan and any other plan that we develop to move our community forward. So that's how we would basically regulate it.
Mr. Chair.
Hold on one second. Councilwoman Washington, were you finished?
I'm done. Thank you.
All right.
I think we have to be clear of what we're trying to do. And I think the attorney spoke about the where. And that's what we are trying to do, is to get it into a particular area so that we can regulate, have it under control. And then we can add on the things in which we want to try to add on to. That's why I made mention about the Dearborn model. Dearborn Heights model was a very good model, because what they did was they moved folks out of the residential areas into a commercial area, which they regulated. And that's what we have to do. We can't have these folks willy-nilly all over the city when we're talking about protecting the public's health and safety. We cannot have them all over the city. They have to be regulated. It has to be controlled. And we put them in a particular area in which they can do the business. You're not going to be all over the city of Inkster just growing wherever you want to. I understand the Marijuana Cares Act. In your residential home, you can grow up to certain amounts of plants. But once you exceed that amount, we want to move you into an area in which you can do business. So this is what my understanding is about the where. Where are we going to put these folks? And we came up with an area in which we can put them. That's where we need to put them, so they won't be all over the place. Less regulated. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
All right, and then just add to that, really the safety aspect of it all. Being able to go into the facility, check for plumbing, waste, electric, the structure itself. Folks are not just coming in being able to just grow plants any type of way they want to and just leave. And just these buildings, again, be an eyesore within our community, and they're not safe. So that's the main thing. That's where I'm trying to drive home, for us to regulate these businesses and move forward. Anybody else?
Yes.
Go ahead, Councilman Chisholm.
All right. So in the last meeting, I had submitted a list of questions. I believe A through J. I had read them on the record in the meeting. I sent them to the attorneys and the clerk. And the majority of them, I spoke with Attorney Harry. He did let me know a memo was coming in the packet, and that pretty much my questions had been answered. After reviewing it, I did have, like additional questions and things of that nature, because there was some gray area in there. And after keep reading it over and over, more and more it came. But just a couple of key questions. I won't even go over all of those again, that just kind of came up even right now during the conversation, was when you talked about the area being rezoned because the siding where a building would particularly want to get into this program. I just wanted to know from that point, then where would we actually put the micros? And then are they going to build like from the ground up? Also in the Dearborn ordinance as brought up, there's a residential exemption within the Dearborn ordinance. I also understand the point of regulation. So my question was, will this be retroactively enforced? What happens when the facility fills up? Right now, there's a projection of 8 to 10 caregivers that could go in there, caregivers that potentially grow in there. And I know it keeps going back and forth. We're trying to get them out the residential area. We're trying to regulate the residents who are growing in their homes and stuff and put them in this specific area. But there's a lot of gray area, open-ended questions, and all the points are valid and great, but it really gets confusing. And we've been on this for a long time, and I'm just lost by, I guess, everybody's understanding. I get trying to bring revenue into the city, and trying to zone them into one particular area and regulate. But
that's it, Councilman. That's it. And it's not about the residents because, again, here people keep saying the residents. I think it got confused and lost in the sauce when we're talking about the commercial buildings that's in residential areas and they're growing in those areas. And then, of course, you state, okay, well, the state has allowed this to happen. And you can grow in the house. Why would you want to go into? I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about these properties that's owned by people that don't live in our community, that's actually growing in those buildings, and there's no regulation. And at this point, we can't inspect them for it or anything. And if we go in and say, okay, yep, you're growing, all right, okay, yep, you're not supposed to be growing, but we don't have anything on the books. It's like, what are we doing? We need to put a process in play. That's what we need. That's what needs to happen. That's the bottom line.
Okay, I have nothing else.
Mayor, before we go any further, can I just make one more? People say we have to know where we're going to put this. We have already designated an area where growth facilities go. So it's not a matter of finding one. We've done that. It's the M1 district. All we're saying is that you need to be where we've designated groves. So
this used to be the M1. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
But it's not now, sir. So
yeah, and everybody in that area.
That's a moot point.
What you're saying is a moot point, but I can get on every person in that area that owns property, that have owned property in that area. We're like, it's not M1 anymore. Like, we can't be a part of this process. What happened to us? Why can't we do this? So I'm like, okay, well, you can't do that anymore. It's a moot point, like you just said. Other than coming to this body and trying to get them to get us to overturn our decision. And these are the people that own the property. We're not just talking about Siding World. So back to Stephen's point, Councilman Chisholm's point, the Siding World is one of those buildings. We're trying to figure, because they want to grow too. They want to have a grow facility there, And I'm like, okay, you can't do that there. So we're just trying to figure out what works best for everybody, not just one individual.
What's best for everybody is they do what the city has already decided. Put grow facilities in M1.
Well, that's what the previous administration decided, and all of the property is currently owned.
The property is owned, but there's land over there. They could build if it was that important to them. So it's I'm moving that we reject the recommendation of the Planning Commission for the following reason. It's contrary to the master plan. It violates our own zoning laws. It leaves us open to future litigation. Should another entity decide they want to establish something outside of their designated or zoning area and is denied. And it also, whether you say it or not, to me, it's spot zoning. And it exhibits a disparity of treatment to the other growers who were not given the opportunity to establish outside of their area, their designated area. So that's me at the bottom.
All right, now that's her. She made a motion. Is there support?
Hold it.
No, I got it. No, she made a motion, which we right. The rules are the rule. She made a motion. Is there support on that? Is there support on that motion?
What was the motion?
She just said she just made a motion. Sandra made a motion. She wanted to move for a question on this motion. This is the second reading, so she just asked for a denial. So you want to repeat it again, Sandra?
Sure, that's fine.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Wiley. I want to be in order. I want to be in order. I believe we're doing this right, City Clerk?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was motioning that we should reject the recommendation of the Planning Commission as far as zoning goes, because it's contrary to the master plan. It violates our own zoning laws. And it leaves us open to future litigation should another entity decide to establish outside of their zoning area or their designated area, and we deny them. It constitutes spot zoning, and it establishes a disparity of treatment as other grow facilities did not have the opportunity to establish a commercial setting in that area. And the only reason I did it that way was so that when we reject planning, we have to have reason. We have to substantiate our reasons, and that was the motion.
All right. Is there support on that?
Support.
All right. It's been moved and properly supported. Now discussion. Go ahead.
I got an unreadiness.
Go ahead, Councilman Williams.
Okay, and I don't know if we got a thinking cap on. First of all, you're talking about if we don't create a zoning area, okay, then I understand that the state say you can put it anywhere as long as you can't regulate a certain area that it should go. Okay. Now I do understand some of the talking is doing. We want to keep it in this area here, keep it in that area there. Yeah, but some kind of language that we had to put together for zoning. Okay. And as I understand, we all been talking across the table when it came down talking about, well, in these different areas that this is where we're going to put it at. Okay. And then all of a sudden we're saying, well, we don't want it. Okay. See, what disturbs me is, okay, you might not want it, but, you know, and maybe a lot of us sitting here voting might not want to see recreational marijuana, period, but it's here. So you got to do something. If you don't regulate it, then that means they can grow anywhere. Okay, keep that in mind. They can grow anywhere. You can move next door. They can move right next door to a bunch of our houses and start growing. Okay, so what we're trying to do is eliminate a lot of that in the area. Okay, we got to come up with regular, and I think we should be able to come up with something. Even though they have the right to grow in their houses, we still should have the right and to regulate that also. And I got somebody working on that. We got to work on these things. We need to come together and work on them because, yeah, it's free that they can grow it in their house. But there's certain conditions that we need to be putting together. First of all, if you're going to grow it outside, you're going to let it be in the opening, or should it have a closed-in fence? Okay, if they're going to grow in certain places, how high can they grow? Can they put an 8-foot fence up and grow it 12 feet tall? You see, we had to look at all of these type of things that we're talking about into the areas. We live here. Okay, and we don't have anything regulating right now the residents how they can do it. I hear everybody saying, "Oh, it's free. They can do it free," but there's some certain guidelines and conditions that we can put together as a city and a municipality to cover that. I hope that y'all took time. And if you didn't, you need to go back over it again and sit down there and took time of that zoning conditions that they have in Dearborn.
All right.
Hey, we can't do some of that stuff they're doing in there we wouldn't want to, but some of that stuff in there we need to take a look at. I'm just saying that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other discussion?
So is that them saying? Oh, I'm sorry. Is that Ms. Watley or Councilwoman Watley? Are you pretty much saying that you are for the caregiver facilities being zoned, but not in the zone that they're trying to place it in, which is the B3?
That's correct. There is a place designated for grow facilities. Your zoning law states it. If you look at all of the things within that section, it shows that grow facilities belong there. That's where all the others are. That's where this one should be.
Okay. Just want the clarification.
Okay. All right, the question is being called for. Did I hear someone? Question being called for. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Chisholm?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard?
Yes.
Councilmember Williams?
No.
Councilmember Shaw?
This is for the Watley's proposal, am I correct?
Yes.
No.
Councilmember Shaw?
No.
Councilmember Watley?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Washington?
Yes.
Mayor,
All
we
right.
have 4 yeas.
All right, motion passes. All right, moving right along. The next item.
The next item is council to offer a second reading and approval of text amendments to the city zoning ordinance pertaining to provisions for medical marijuana for drug-free zones, per the recommendations of the Planning Commission.
So move.
It's moved as properly supported. Discussion?
On page 110, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, on page 110.
Page 110. All right.
Yeah, trying to find out what I did with it. But it's special. This is for micro, right?
No, this is just for the matter of fact, Harry, can you just give us a background on this, please? Harry?
I'm sorry. Yes, Mayor. I've lost track a little bit. I think we're talking about the drug-free zones, correct?
Correct.
Right now,
with the buffers.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. And drug-free zones. Part of what we were doing, or part of what the Planning Commission considered when they were looking at the zoning ordinances, was to establish buffer zones, certain areas where there needed to be so much distance between either medical or adult use marijuana facility and certain other uses, such as schools, daycares, churches, those sorts of things. I recommended, and council's commission agreed that really we should use the state definitions for a drug-free zone, which also includes parks and other places where kids could play. And so this is just to add, this part of it would be just to add and identify what a drug-free zone is, so that subsequently in the zoning ordinance, it could say this needs to be 1,000 feet away from drug-free zone. And that's the purpose of it.
Okay.
All right. Did you have a question, Mayor Pro Tem Howard?
No, he answered it.
Okay. You're welcome. Any other questions or comments related to this topic?
Yes.
Go ahead, Councilman Chisholm.
Just with the drug-free zone, I know there were different parameters and what different colleagues were looking to impose, but I thought everything had kind of sort of been covered with the buffers that we put in place when it comes through planning up to city council. And what would the drug-free zones really initially be implementing further, rather than just looking, you will, kind of good on?
Right.
Mayor, you want me to?
Go ahead, please.
Okay. No, the drug-free zones, you've already got, previously with the medical marijuana, you had put down some provisioning, some information about how far away it needed to be from schools, for instance. The drug-free zones just added a couple of extra things. It's not really to change the distance as much as to just going forward to make it clear that certain other areas should be included. And mostly like city-owned playgrounds and recreation areas is really what would fall into that. Currently, there was no buffer, no requirement that any of these facilities be 1,000 feet away from any city-owned parks. So that's really what it's about.
Okay, and a follow-up question with that. With these different ordinances and different things we put into place, do they get enforced retroactively, or is this from this date going forward?
Retroactive is not allowed.
Okay.
So it's going forward, and this is where
Harry, let's make sure that we're clear on this, because I think that what Councilman Chisholm, you can help me as it relates to being grandfathered in. Like, for instance, we have the dispensary at Cherry Hill, at Cherry Belt, and they're pretty close, I believe, to a daycare. they're in the catch it right now as it relates to the process. So they wouldn't necessarily have to, if we pass this, they wouldn't necessarily have to adhere to that because they were already in the process, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so explain that so everybody be on the same page, because what we don't want to do is set ourselves up for any type of litigation.
No. Mayor used the word grandfather, and I think that's what everybody can recognize as somebody's grandfathered in, which means when they started, they were doing something legal, and then subsequently the law changes, and since they started out and they were conforming with the law, we allow them to keep that use even though it no longer conforms with the law. It's a non-conforming use. An example might be back in the day, a store just 100 next door to our school was allowed to sell alcohol, which today that would never be allowed. But because it was legal at the time, they're grandfathered in. They're stuck. We're stuck with them next to that school until they go out of business. Now, there are some restrictions. A place that is non-conforming can't really change. They can't grow. They can't get bigger. They can't expand their footprint. So some limitations are on non-conforming uses. But basically, if you're there already, you have a vested right to stay there until you move.
And when you say there already, is that like they're in operating, or is that you have the building and you're in the process? Like, where does this actually pick
usually
up?
In the process? Listen, okay, you're looking at this right now, and if there's extremes, right? I mean, if somebody's already operating, there's no question they have the right to be there. But if somebody were kicking the tires, so to speak, I'm thinking about buying this place and I'm talking with the owner about buying it, there's no right there. He hasn't done anything. It really gets to the place where you start actually doing something to create the use there, building, getting permits, those sorts of things. So if you're in the process, you're already moving along, you've got your permits done, you started construction, remodeling, whatever it might be, then you have the right to be there and continue on.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and I get that was just kind of like the general consensus and the fear with this, as we talked about drug-free zones and making sure that we added city properties and, of course, parks and things of that nature, that, we would be setting ourselves up for some possible litigation because we were adding those things in while we have two of the other dispensaries that's actually going through the special land use process right now to be able to obtain their license. So that's why we just wanted to make sure that we're not setting ourselves up for litigation, Harry.
Yeah, I agree with that, Mayor, just for the simple fact of the matter that, when we are at the planning commission level and an attorney from an imposing side approaches us about our language that are on the book, we're sitting there froze. And then the attorney's office said, well, we wish you had called us, but if we didn't have any idea that an opposing party was going to come to the planning commission level, we're trying not into charging us for meetings they don't necessarily need to be at unless we know it's forthcoming.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Okay. Did you have anything else, Councilman?
No, I don't. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else on this matter? Okay. Go ahead. Question?
Call for the question.
Okay. Yeah. I'm calling.
Roll call, Mayor.
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Councilmember Shaw.
Yes.
Councilmember Watley.
No.
Councilmember Washington.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard.
Yes.
And Councilmember Chisholm.
No.
Mayor, we have 4 yeas and 2 noes.
All right. Motion carries. Moving right along. Next item, please.
The next item is council to offer a second reading and approval of text amendments to the city zoning ordinance pertaining to provisions for micro-business facilities per the recommendations of the Planning Commission.
All right, a little bit of background, Harry.
That's all right. We're talking about the micro businesses now.
I'm sorry. First, should we actually ask for a motion?
Yes, probably.
Yep.
We'll move, Mr. Chair.
Is there support?
Support.
And moved and properly supported. All right. Before discussion, let's have Harry give us a little bit of background on this.
Again, this is just another use that's permitted by under the adult use marijuana ordinance that statute that passed. It's a license that's granted by the Michigan by the Marijuana Regulatory Agency. You currently do not have anything in your ordinance about where micro businesses can be.
I've got another one.
So there are some suggestions of establishing a place. First of all, to define what a recreational marijuana micro business is, and then where those places can be. That's what's in this ordinance right now. I believe it's also a special land use in here. I have to double check that, but
yes, it is.
Yeah. So there's some additional conditions in there, since it's a special land use, of what would have to be at that facility if somebody wants to get permission to do that by the city.
All right.
Leave it there, Mayor.
All right, sound good. Thank you, Harry. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Howard, you had actually a question. Did you, as it relates to the micro business, did you want to jump on that one, or?
Yeah, on page 111, I know it's supposed to have been in a B3, but it's got a special land use up under M1 too. So we have that in M1 in the TCD area district.
B3, M1, TCD. No, it should just be only B3, right, Harry? That's a good catch, Mayor Pro Tem. Harry?
Your Honor, Mayor.
Yes,
well, the Honorable Mayor, right?
Yeah.
This represents what came out of the committee. Probably is a typo. I'd have to double check and see, but I think that we do only have this in the B3. So there should be an amendment to strike those other two land uses from the chart. Now, I want to point out, though, that the chart is used as a guide, but the chart is not controlling in our ordinance. It's what the text of the ordinance is. And we have that, I'm scrolling through down here, B3 general business. We have added the recreational marijuana micro business only to that zone. Yeah, so that should be stricken from the ordinance if we pass it.
From M1 and TCD, correct?
Right.
Yep. So it's in the B3 Entertainment District in between Henry Ruff and Middle Belt on Michigan Avenue. All right. Did you have any other questions or comments, Mayor Pro Tem?
No, that's it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions or comments from the body?
Yes.
All right, Councilman Chisholm.
I may have overlooked it, but can you confirm, is this inclusive of the buffers that should be in place? That way we're just limiting the micro businesses into those particular buildings and or strips. So that way we don't overdo however many licenses that we're trying to have in those entities, or is it just however many is in the that can fit in the general business district, entertainment district overlay.
Here you answer that question.
Yeah, for sure. Over there in section 155.150I, it talks about the buffer zones, and in specifically B talks about where the micro business can be. It's not going to be within 1,000 feet of certain drug-free zones, schools, whatever. But whoops, I'm looking at the wrong. Micro business. But I thought that's it.
You once you actually locate that particular part, can you just give me a page number, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's 117. Although as I'm reading it now, it's not saying what I thought that it was going to say. I apologize about that. This is about co-locating. It's in the wrong place. Really, we had, where the heck was it? I thought that the intent of the Planning Commission was, and Mr. Chisholm, you were on the Planning Commission. I thought that there was the intent was that there would be no buffer between micro businesses. The micro business couldn't be near the other, but there would be no buffer between the micro businesses themselves, one for another.
Right. Well, I just meant because we're talking about the entertainment district, which is is in between Michigan Avenue and Henry Ruff. But I'm trying to recall. Hold on. I lost it. I was thinking about the distances over there, just making sure that we have. I done lost it.
Okay. The way it's written, and there's that last sentence probably doesn't belong in this section. The way it's written right now, it says recreational marijuana micro businesses shall not be located within a 1,000-foot radius measured as the shortest distance from front door to front door of a lawfully existing medical marijuana provisioning center or recreational marijuana retailer establishment, period. And then there's a second sentence that says a licensee who holds both a medical marijuana provisioning license and a recreational retailer license may co-locate both establishments in one building. That's a separate issue, but we want to talk about marijuana micro businesses, and that first sentence is what's important. That first sentence only says that they cannot be within 1,000 feet of a recreational marijuana retailer establishment or a provisioning center. A retailer establishment is not a micro business. That's a different definition. So since it does not say it needs to be 1,000 feet from another micro business, that means there is no buffer zone between micro businesses the way it is written.
Okay. So I'm looking at 155.150I. So
right. Yeah.
Without those buffers, does that limit to how many could potentially be inside a building? Or does that just say no, it doesn't?
No, it doesn't. That's why it says it's got to be 1,000 feet away from a medical marijuana or from a recreational, but it doesn't. But this is a separate use. It's not listed in there. If you want clarity, you certainly an amendment to say there's no buffer between micro businesses would be appropriate if you wanted to add that for clarity.
Okay. And I guess just my question to my colleagues is how many licenses for micro businesses are we actually aiming at putting in the pipeline?
Yeah, I think the actual general consensus, as we talked about this in the first reading, was that they would be able to co-locate under one building, creating like a mall effect.
Right.
So that was the idea. So you can't say, you only gonna have 5 or you only have 10. It's just like how many can you get within that building itself. Now, if you want to go buffers in between each building, then that's where the gray area comes in that. And it's just best to just leave it to where it is and let the natural effect of it do what it's going to do, because it's only so much space.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to sound tedious on it, but for instance, say we only have one particular building right now that could house them, and then say they could house 8 or 10. And then we have another building that becomes vacant, or somebody decides they want to build one from the ground up and put, say, 20 or 30 in there. And I'm just using numbers, so don't quote me on it. So now we have 40 to 50 licenses, that we're going to give out for micro businesses, or do we want to continue trying to compromise and minimize the footprint of it? That's all.
Yeah, I think that would be up to this body what you guys would want to do. I think that's what we were kind of trying to get away from, just saying what a number is, so then we wouldn't necessarily have to go through a selection process based off of, you know, a scale of numbers per se. You know, it was like, okay, no, this is how much space you have. These are the buffers, and that keeps us out of litigation. And that's where I thought we were going with this.
And that's fine, but you say when you're talking about the building, we're talking about like right now, existing building, not if someone built brand new or from the ground up or something. So what happens, you know, in that case, or if they added on to an existing building and they give themselves more space, not wider, but up.
Then they would have to find 20 to 30 residents in the community that will own 51% of each of those establishments.
Gotcha.
I'm saying this is all discussion, so it's up to you guys to, you know, to vote on it, and we go from there. But we're trying to keep the footprint from swelling by having them under one roof, and then, you know, of course, making sure that our residents are the ones that's benefiting from this versus any outside entities coming in.
Well, I'm still a buffers person, and I know there's a thing with natural buffers and then mandated or buffers by, you know, this body or any municipality. So I would still encourage, I didn't make the motion or anything, but I would just still encourage to be comfortable with a 1,000-foot buffer, just to try to minimize the footprint.
Okay.
And I yield to my colleagues.
All right. Anybody else?
Yes, Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman Wallace.
Yes. Since we started this, we've been told that buffers are the way to go by our legal people. And we're attempting to minimize the footprint. But yet you're saying you can have 3 or 4 in one building, which isn't minimizing the footprint, by the way. And still not have any buffers for the next thing that comes along. So what are we using? Are we using buffers? Are we using numbers? And if we are using buffers, are they consistent with what we're trying to do? Which you keep saying is minimize the footprint. I've been saying from the beginning, minimize the footprint. If you have a bunch in one building and the ability to put another one, you know, next door, and they can have a dozen in there, how does that limit our marijuana exposure?
All you have to do, Councilwoman, is say you want 1,000-foot buffer in between. I have whatever the will of this body is. I want to move this issue forward. But I think all of us collectively, and I'm not saying that we are, but I think what I've been hearing since we've been talking about this is having our residents having an opportunity to have a business in a micro malls type of setting in a building. So whether that building is 1,000 feet from another micro business, then that's what it is. And looking at the map, and Caitlin can pull that map up for us, then you would have just one micro business in this particular area. But we would allow them to be able to co-locate within the same building.
If Councilwoman Watley is finished.
You can go ahead. I'll probably think of something in a minute.
Well, no, the mayor triggered my memory at that point because we talked about the planning commission meeting and everything and with the intent. Yes, I do recall now, you know, the different conversations that were being had because we were measuring out what would potentially be the minimum and the maximum. And it was like 1 to 2. I think 2 at the maximum once you measured everything. And I think that was from door to door. And I guess Ms. Hines or whomever could correct me if I'm wrong. So we had looked at 2 micro business buildings that would house multiple ones was the maximum, 1 was the minimum. So that was, you know, from my recollection, was the intent of that 1,000-foot buffer. So that's why I would be comfortable with that instead of no 1,000-foot buffer from micro businesses that are co-locating here versus next door, then next door, next door, next door. So we had 2 establishments with multiples inside, 1,000-foot buffer. I'm good.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Anybody else? All right. Well, the motion has been made, seconded. Did you want to amend the maker of the motion just to add the 1,000-foot buffer in there, please?
From door to door?
Yes.
That's up to him. He made the motion.
I didn't make the motion.
Councilman Shaw.
Councilman Shaw did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm good with that. Yes.
Okay. As the maker of the motion, you okay with adding the 1,000-foot buffer in between those?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Is that correct, City Clerk?
Yep, I got it in here. Yes, sir.
All right. Calling for the question. Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard.
Yes.
Councilmember Washington.
Yes.
Councilmember Chisholm.
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley.
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
And Councilmember Shaw.
Yes.
Mayor, we have 6 yeas.
All right. Motion carried. Moving right along. New business, please.
Consideration and approval of the 2021 City Council calendar meeting dates and times.
So move.
Support.
Any discussion on that? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Washington. Councilmember Washington.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard.
Yes.
Councilmember Chisholm.
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley.
Yes.
Councilmember Shaw.
Yes.
And Councilmember Williams.
Yeah.
Mayor, we have 6 yeas.
All right. Motion carries. Moving right along.
Item B is consideration and approval to add amendments to the city's FOIA policy.
So move.
There's support?
Support.
All right. David, did you want to say anything as it relates to this topic?
Yes. We propose, first of all, I indicated earlier to the clerk that we drafted some additional procedures and policies as it relates to the city's FOIA policy. And we asked that, I don't know if it was communicated, we asked that it be removed from the table today. We are supplementing our proposed amendments to the FOIA policy. And we were putting this on the council's agenda today for transparency purposes. We've already designated, the city has already designated the city clerk as the FOIA officer. This technically does not need council approval. All is required is that we publish the amendment and the rules as it relates to our FOIA policy. It's no secret that the city has recently undergone an onslaught of FOIA requests and some litigation as it relates to FOIA. And some of the inquiries after the FOIA lawsuit have taken up substantial resources and invited several phone calls, emails, and things that have distracted the city from providing this main function as it relates to providing city services. So we believe a supplement of our policy is in order. And we want to add a few more things to the policy. So at this point, I'm not asking that we do anything with the policy as proposed, but we will submit in the next day or two additional supplements to the proposed policy.
So this is just for information, no action?
No action today, correct.
Do we need to motion to table it now?
No, you don't.
You don't have to, Member Chisholm. And technically, again, it didn't need council approval. As the designated FOIA officer, as long as the FOIA officer agrees and publishes those rules, procedures, and policies, you can simply, the council can move simply to allow the FOIA officer to communicate with the city attorney's office, and we will amend the rules as necessary. So it's no action. We can move forward. If there's any question to some of the things that we did submit or questions in general, we can answer them, but we're not asking for a vote or anything.
All right. Well, let's move right along. Item C, please.
Item C is consider approval of one of two offers to purchase one commercial building and lot adjacent, which are located on the east side of John Daly between Trowbridge Street and Carlisle Ave and are legally described as duly noted 2407 John Daly and 2135 John Daly.
All right, Tracy Ann, if you can give us background on the two proposals and what's happening right now and what we would like to see happen.
Good evening, Mayor Wimberly and council members. There was an RFP issued for the purchase of this property and redevelopment therein. And there have been two submissions, one by Zimcube, Guacia Jones, and one by BB3 LLC, John Bernard, in regards to offers made for this RFP. Zimcube Inc. is offering up to $50,000 for the purchase of this property, as is Mr. John Bernard. However, there are two very different proposals for the development of these properties. Zimcube Inc., the real estate investment company, is looking to develop this property into a mixed-use building containing 2 commercial spaces on the first floor and 3 residential units on top. BB3 LLC is looking to bring a marijuana compliance and safety lab to the city of Inkster for the testing of medicinal and recreational marijuana, and would like to do so on this property.
All right. Just for the sake of discussions, any, let's at least, I know that there was some questions brought up and some very good comments brought up as it relates to this and orientation for City Council, if you will, at this time. Any questions or any comments?
Yeah, I don't think it has been. It hasn't been moved or seconded.
How do we move or second any? Because
Right.
It's like you got to choose one or the other.
Right.
So,
Mr. Mayor,
okay, go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
before we move on, wasn't it you guys' job to choose which one and then bring it to us instead of us trying to choose two?
Yeah, well, and let me just say right out that we chose to bring them both forward because it was the same amount of money that was offered for the property. Now, the biggest part in between, of course, I want to see the residential and the commercial mixed use build being done at that corner of John Daly and Trowbridge. At the same time, the other company wants to present a testing facility for marijuana. However, it's not zoned properly, so that can just ice that. But the actual person that bidded on it, he understands the process and what he would have to go through as it relates to trying to get that rezoned. And he's willing to do that. Plus, he's willing to counteroffer up to, Tracy, did he say that you could say the amount of what he wanted to counteroffer?
Sir, I did not ask if I could share that.
Okay.
Okay.
He definitely wants to counteroffer up to more than 50,000. So, again, from the administrative side, I want to see the residential commercial use facility done there, and it's already zoned for that. The other part of it would be just an uphill piece on it, having it there because it's not zoned properly.
Mr. Miller, is it okay if I put in a motion?
Of course.
Okay.
Mayor, before he does that, can I just ask one quick question?
Okay, we should have a motion on the floor first.
Okay, go ahead. Put your motion in.
I move that we go with the resident and the commercial building with the people. Who's it? Bernard, I think you said.
It's Zimcube.
Zimcube. Put the commercial building and the apartments there.
Is there support for that?
Support.
All right, Sandra. I'm sorry, Councilwoman Wiley. I truly apologize, guys.
No, that's fine, sir. I just wanted to know what happened to the Dog Pound project.
Well, from my understanding, really to be honest, trying to get as much information as I could as it relates to just transitioning to the role, that it was going to cost the city's money to do it. It was $360,000 from, talking with Darren, that it was going to cost us to actually do that project for the dog pound. We can't afford to do that.
Okay.
We need to bring in revenue. So this is a way for us to capture revenue. Also, to put it back on the tax roll to be able to capture more revenue.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions or comments as it relates to this?
Yes, I still have some comments.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, so the ZimCube Incorporated. Okay, on page 133, it's got My Big Walk-In Closet Corporation. What is that? Because I was not able to pull that up on the internet. This is on page 133.
Mm-hmm.
It's got My Big Walk-In Closet Corporation. Now it's all of these. I mean, I was not able to pull that up. I was able to pull up ZimCube, which is a corporation that started in April of this year.
Mm-hmm.
I was not able to look to find out the other business in Warren or Detroit or what business they doing. That's not in here. I mean, it's mentions of it, but I'm not sure where they're located at for references. So I would like to see that. Also, too, the question that I have in here, because this was really mind-boggling to figure out this. They want to buy two partials, the 2407 John Daly, 2135, and they want to buy the 26526, right?
Tracy, explain that so we're all on the same page.
They do, in fact, want to purchase the 26526 as well. However, because there were two offers on the 2135 John Daly and 2407 John Daly, those were the two parcels that were brought before you this evening.
So the 26526 is off the table then?
For now.
Okay, so now these two properties, the 2135 and 2407, what are they? I mean, I'm looking, they want to build commercial, but I'm trying to find out what size. So if it's not the 26526 included in that, it's very small. So what else are they trying to build there? Now, if they got the 26526 on the other side, that goes adjacent, I think, to either the 2407, not the store. That may be possible that they can build something there. But on the two lots that they're looking at now is very small. So my question would be, what are they trying to build there if they're not trying to buy the other land at 26526, Trowbridge?
Tricia, be clear on that, because I think you did say they do want to buy it, right? But
yes, they do, but that's also contingent upon whether or not they were going to be granted to purchase the two John Daly properties, and the project was able to go through.
So since we have a lot of gray areas on this, wouldn't you guys think we should table this until you guys get all of this together? Because it's all over the place. And
I'm not saying that when you say it's all over the place, what's all over the place about it?
I mean, because development plans obtain several lots. You got down here 26526 Trowbridge, 2135 John Daly.
Where are you getting that from?
134, page 134.
Okay. So
you don't have the 2407 on here. Everything is just all over the place on this one.
Let me see here. Page 134. You're looking at what they want to do, not as it relates to the action that the administration asks for. So when we talk about the action item or what the administration asks for, it actually says right here what it is that we're asking for and what they're looking to purchase in the actual write-up. That's what they want to do based off of what we make our decision on.
Okay, so these buildings in the back, pictures of these buildings has nothing to do with those two properties, is what you're telling me?
Man, what page are you looking at? Let's make sure I'm on the same page.
Page 135.
So on 135. Let's see here. On 135, that's the proposed scope of work. Are you talking about this particular picture right here?
Yes, sir.
That's what they're talking about developing. That's what they want to build.
Okay, they want to build on those two small lots, right?
Well, it's the commercial building that's there. They want to actually get control of the actual structure, the building. They are aware that it's another proposal. It was another proposal on the table. So they want to get control of 2407 John Daly and 2135 John Daly. And they want to, again, purchase Trowbridge as a later date. That's not before us today. Was before us.
Okay, so what you tell them, I'm still trying to get out. I'm not looking at the rest of this that's on this background information.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm looking at those two partials that they're trying to buy, what are they trying to build on there? And it's such a small partial is what I'm asking.
It's already an existing building that's on there. That was going to be our dog pound.
Right, and it's not that big. So it's not that big. That's why I'm asking, are they moving? Are they going up? Are they building apartments up at the top? I mean,
yes, they're going up.
Okay, so these apartment buildings is going to sit across the street from this big old white building. And what they're proposing is that the container homes will cost $50,000 to $80,000 to build.
Mm-hmm.
But this is on Bayham, so I don't understand. I don't know what this is. And they said, and they want to do something on Dunning. So
that's a totally different proposal that's on item F.
Right. I mean, in the future, Mayor, and I understand you guys are trying to do this. We just need one proposal on here at a time because I'm going back and forth, and none of this may not makes any sense because it is all over the place. I just need what is their intentions of building on those two partials? That's all I'm asking. The 2135, because
they say
commercial and you don't have that much space. So I don't know what they can do.
I'm not a builder, but I didn't see some amazing things done in a limited amount of space. So, what I'm trying to do is again get these items that's been on our books for a number of years with no tax base. We don't have any revenue.
I'm not disputing that, but once again, if you want me to,
all over the place.
Right, it is all over the place. It's all over the place for me. And I'm making a sound judgment. I want to know what I'm voting on.
And
but wouldn't that be left up to the planning commission when they go in front of the planning?
And you can ask the question before tonight, before we get
when you go to the site planning, Kim, that's when you're going
to George, you out of order.
Well, no, I'm not, because I'm tired of sitting here listening to you talking about something that's irrelevant.
Okay, well, then I tell you what, I'm going to yield because I know what I'm going to say then. I'm done.
All right. Let's move forward. All right.
Real quick, Mr. Mayor, for a second.
Go ahead.
Is it possible a potential buyer could do a presentation? I know, for instance, like with that R&B Hall of Fame, they did a presentation before they talked about purchasing any land in the community. So I was just wondering, is that possible?
I definitely had them, for sure. Definitely they would do something like that. We can definitely do that. Now I'm with that. I have not a problem with that. We can definitely have them do that.
So and so would it be, I guess, sufficient if we waited to do the property sale until they did the presentation? I know it's just a property sale, regardless of the fact.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and it's going to take some time anyway to get through the process. So it's totally up to you guys if you want to table it and then come back. But it's like, okay, the other folks that petitioned to buy the property too, we're going to have to answer to them. So now you're going to come back. We want to give them a chance to make a proposal too and make a.
I was just asking the question for sake of clarity. Is whoever
I'm pretty sure they will definitely do it. We just want to get some development going in this community. Seems like we just have so many roadblocks. So I'll definitely make that happen, though.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not going to be there. Kim, let me apologize because I didn't mean to shot off like that, and I apologize to you. But let me say this. Okay, first of all, we got to quit putting the cart before the horse. Okay, first of all, if they want to buy the property, okay, they have X amount of time to either develop that land. I mean, the issue that we have in here now, they was talking about putting a testing ground in here for medical marijuana facilities. Okay, that was the same thing that they, years ago before I got on council, was talking about putting next door to City Hall. Okay, so what I'm saying is if these people want to develop something concrete, I mean, to me, if they want to develop something as beautiful as what they talking about putting in an area and help lift that area up, you see what I'm saying? If that's what they're going to do with it, if we stipulate it into the contract, that's what they're going to do with it. And then, let the planning commission come there, and that's when they have to go through the planning. That's what we got planning for. But if we keep on trying to take certain positions and make a determination on them, we're gonna run into a whole lot of problems trying to get something created in this community. I mean, the planning commission is well capable of handling it. They got to go through all of the ordinances that we have, and then keep going back and forth. See, that's what makes people pull out of here. That's why people pull out that project up there on Middle Belt. Okay, that's why they pulled out of here, because of all of the things that we take them through. We got to come more friendly. And I'm serious. I mean, I don't even know who these people are, what they're trying to do, but when we're dealing with business, we got to become a little friendlier. I mean, I'm just saying it. We want this, we want that, we want this. And then, put it in a proper perspective, okay? When they go in front of there and they had to do their draft and outline and do their planning in front of the planning commission, that's what we got the planning commission for. And if they don't meet the expectations, then the land go back up for sale.
Very good point.
We put too much pressure on people. People gonna run out of here. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Any other question? Yeah, go ahead, Councilman Shaw.
This was a request for proposal. How long was this ago?
The actual request for proposal, that was back in August that I put it out.
So you put it out in August and it's coming back right now, right?
Yeah, we just wanted to make sure we had all the particulars from their side for the develop. Of course, we did our research and went out and actually saw some of the properties that they're doing. Pretty much vetted them as a whole to if they had the capabilities of doing it, and then now we're presenting it to the council so we can move forward. Because the last thing I want to do is drag our feet on it.
And it's 50,000.
Right. That's what they're. Yeah. The offer was 28. Was 25 at first, but then of course the other offer came in at 50,000. Said they would match the 50 in order to do the project and move it forward. So that's what we're trying to do.
All right. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
And then let me say that. Go ahead, Councilman Williams.
Mr. Mayor. Okay. So right now, if we get 50,000 for them 2 lots, then they got to come right back and buy the other lot, the other building. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay.
On the other building.
Well, Kim, that's what he was saying. It was 3 buildings in the whole situation. Okay, the building where the dog pond is, that ain't what the one on Thorpe Bridge, that ain't what they asking for. They want to buy the 2 vacant lots, one next to the dog pond building and the one next to that. Okay, and what they're saying is now they're gonna come back and make an offer for that building. Okay.
Point of clarification, though, it is the building. They're trying to get the building, the structure, because they're working with a base, and then they would actually get the 2-6, the other property that the Mayor Pro Tem was referring to.
Okay, but the 2 they're trying to get now that's on John Daly.
The 26526 Trowbridge Street. Yep, that would be the other parcel right next door to it.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, before they make a decision on it, what I'm trying to say is it's in my district. I don't have a problem with people building anything in my district, but I'm going off of these notes in the back of this packet, which was all over the place. That's what I'm saying. It was 2 or 3 different things. First of all, if this is the mayor's agenda, and whatever he does, he sends it to us for approval. I'm not sitting here going through both of them to see which one I'm going to pick. That was the flag number 1 for me.
Okay, well, I'll stop doing
and wait 1 second, Mr. Mayor. And ZimCube, I don't have a problem with them. But what I'm asking is that I'm visualizing apartment buildings. And I'm going off of the notes that they provided for me. 1 to 2 bedrooms. And it may not be on that corner. That's why I'm asking. Because a couple of council requests down, they got something else out. That's what I'm asking. That's all I was asking. Because I'm trying to visit, and they're not going to come. If they come by the 265, that's across the street from the one where the old store used to be. So I'm looking at that store and I'm looking at the size of that. What can be built? Can it be an apartment building? So I'm trying to visualize. That's all I'm asking. I'm not trying to run nobody away, but by it's not being here, and if I'm going back looking, they saying they building apartment buildings. I'm trying to visualize that apartment building, that small little lot, having an apartment building and commercial at the same time. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
But ain't that the zoning?
I'm done, Mayor.
And it's not apartment buildings, just for clarification. So we're not talking about apartment buildings. Mm-hmm. What you want to do is actually do a mixed use, use the building that's there already, the foundation, add on to it, and then go up with 3 apartments on the top of the buildings. So it actually looked really nice. I know they're capable of doing the work, and they've already put a down payment down for the property. So I would love to move this along and let it go through the planning process. However, we need to do that. And then, of course, in the contract with all of our properties, we have reversion clauses and all of that stuff inside of that to make sure that we're protecting the city. But right now, the property is sitting there. The city's responsible for it. We haven't collected taxes on it in years. And it's just a vacant building, another vacant building in the city. So that's my spiel to that. All right. Anything else from anybody else?
Call for the question. All right.
Question being called for. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Chisholm?
Yes.
Councilmember Watley?
Yes.
Councilmember Shaw?
Yes.
Councilmember Washington?
Yes.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem Howard?
Yeah. Yes.
Mayor, 6 yay.
Motion carries. Moving right along.
Item D is consider approval of an offer to purchase 1 vacant residential lot, which is located on the east side of Harriet between Andover and Carlisle, as duly noted, in the amount of $500 to Ruth E. Williams.
So moved.
Report for discussion.
All right, discussion. Go ahead, Councilman Chisholm.
I thought I heard it, but I just wanted for clarity because I know we talked about it orientation. Madam Clerk, you had read the correction in there, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Between Andover and Carlisle, yes.
Okay, cool. I'm good with it. Thank you.
The lot right behind the store is there at Harrison, between Harrison and Harriet. Okay. Any other questions, comments? All right. Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard?
Yeah. Yes.
Councilmember Williams?
Abstain.
Councilmember, and you're abstaining because the relationship? Right, okay. Councilmember Washington?
Yes.
Councilmember Watley?
Yes.
Councilmember Chisholm?
Yes.
And Councilmember Shaw?
Yes.
Mayor, we have 5 yays.
All right, motion carries. Moving right along.
Item E is consider approval of an offer to purchase 1 vacant residential lot, which is located on the west side of Harrison between Beach Street and Cherry Street, and is legally described as duly noted in the amount of $500 to Sharita
Chapman, actually.
Chapman.
Okay, thank you.
What's your pleasure?
So moved.
There's support?
Support.
Discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Williams?
Abstain.
And why are you abstaining? Can you?
That's my daughter.
Okay. Councilmember Chisholm?
Yes.
Councilmember Washington?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard?
Yes.
Councilmember Shaw?
Yes.
And Councilmember Wiley?
Yeah.
Mayor, we have 5 yeas.
All right, motion carried. Moving right along.
Item F is consideration and approval of an offer to purchase 3 adjacent vacant residential lots, which are located on the east side of Bayham between Trowbridge and Carlisle Ave, and are legally described as duly noted in the amount of $28,650 to Zimcu and Garcia Jones.
All right, Tracy.
Good evening. This purchase was also in response to an RFP that had been put out by the city of Inkster. And this is Zimcu, again, Mr. Garcia Jones, who is looking to develop this property. He wants to provide cost-efficient, modern, and durable homes for future homeowners and renters, as well as commercial spaces for the city of Inkster.
Is there a motion?
A movement, Chair.
There's support? There's support?
Support.
All right, Councilman Wiley, I think you had something?
Yeah, I wasn't put down as making a motion, was I? Because
No.
that's, huh?
No.
Okay, good. I'm asking, I'm trying to visualize in my head between Trowbridge and Carlisle on a street. That's quite a distance, isn't it?
Tracy, explain that to them like you explained it to me. Please. I said the same thing. Go ahead, Tracy, explain that to them, please.
So when I go back and double check applications and things, I use a program because I'm not familiar with the area myself. I use a program called Land Grid USA to double check. And those were the streets that populated when I put in the property I need ID numbers for the council.
So those are, and just get a little bit
parcels,
with that. Yeah, so just get a little bit more in depth with that as it relates to the major cross streets or the major intersections of streets in between, correct?
Yes.
And I thought it was a wide view as well, too.
So this is technically between what and what then? I can see Trowbridge there, but I think we got Princess and a couple other streets in between there. Mm-hmm. So is there any way we can technically say where exactly they're going to be building?
Yep,
because I believe there are a lot more, there are council people here that are much more familiar with areas than I am. So like I said, just a better idea of where we are.
I totally agree. And Tracy and I, we talked about that. I'm going to start making sure that when we submit these things that I look at them with her thoroughly as it relates to just where they're located. Because I said the same thing. I was like, where's that? So at any rate, so Bayham Street.
I was trying to look at a map again.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
I table the motion till we get a better understanding of these streets. If you want some pictures and what have you.
Yep, I totally agree with that. If
I support.
Okay, cool. Let me get a roll call on that so we can move forward with this. We'll get back. This table.
You ready, Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, Councilmember Shaw.
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard.
Yes.
Councilmember Washington.
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yeah.
And Councilmember Chisholm.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And last item of new business, item G.
Item G is, I'm sorry, Mayor. Item G is a second reading and approval to consider amendments to amend the City of Inkster Code of Ordinance, Section 124, marijuana business license.
All right, so
moved,
only
Mr. Chair.
business license. Okay, go ahead. Yep, I'm sorry. So moves. Is there support?
Support.
All right, and the only license that we're talking about right now, City Clerk, is what the micro business.
Micro business.
The micro business license. Okay. So, Harry, what do we need to do right here?
Well, good evening again. Mayor, in your packet, you have a few things, and really, you had a first reading of an ordinance over a month ago now, and that was before everybody, but am I hearing you right that you only want to consider amending the parts about the micro business? What about the other adult use businesses?
Oh yeah, I mean everything that we need in here right now at this point. I just wanted to make sure out of the second readings, the only thing that came out of was the micro business, but everything else with the adult use, we need to talk about that.
Right. That's what's
before us.
That's what I would have thought. Right. Okay. So, it's getting late. Mayor, what do you want me to focus on initially on this ordinance? Because there's a lot there, right? There's a lot there.
Okay, what outline them when you say a lot there?
Sure. We currently on our books, we have a business licensing ordinance that just deals with medical marijuana. You might recall about a year ago, council then at the time changed the zoning ordinance to allow to say where adult use marijuana could be, but they did not pass any ordinances to control and license those ordinances. This now addresses that shortcoming. So we took the existing medical marijuana licensing or business licensing ordinance and added and adjusted it to include both adult and medical marijuana. For the medical marijuana facilities out here that are going to be added to this, we now have adult use grow facilities, and which are almost identical to the medical marijuana grow facilities, except the numbers of plants for adult use is different. There's Class A, B, and C. For Class A, for medical, they can grow up to 500 plants. Under adult, it's only 100. Class B growers, 1,000 plants for medical, only 500 for recreational. And then Class C, a maximum of 1,500 plants for medical and 2,000 for recreational. Both of those categories are going to exist because it depends on whether or not an individual wants to open up a grow facility for medical with a medical license or an adult use license. So we added those new categories for adults. We also have the marijuana retailer, which is similar to provisioning center, but it's for adult use. We have the marijuana micro businesses. We have the secure transporters for each of these things. The medical, and we have the possibility of adding the medical marijuana caregiver facilities if council so decides.
Well, that's struck out, Harry. Let's not confuse it.
Right. I'm just saying you could do that. You could add that now if you want.
Well, no, we're not because
we're leaving that out there. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So going ahead over here, the main changes that we have over here is that there's number one. Whoops. Excuse me. We've identified the businesses. We've given definitions to the businesses. For American marijuana micro businesses, we're adding some additions to that so that for micro businesses, my understanding that council's asked that the micro businesses be geared in such a way as to encourage local ownership. And so from that, basically we use the Medical Marijuana Regulatory Agency is classifying people as for the social equity program, which Inkster is a community that participates in the social equity program. Social equity components include local ownership and people who have been negatively impacted by marijuana laws that have been existing in the past. So somebody that wants to have a micro business in Inkster would have to be somebody who qualifies by the state for the social equity program and also have 51% interest in ownership by a Inkster resident. So the goal here is to keep those small businesses available to local residents so that they can get a foot in the door in the community. The other items over here are really just to set up the licensing aspect for all of these things. This regulation is so that the same regulations that apply to medical marijuana in terms of hours of operation, those sorts of things, would apply to the adult use marijuana businesses, and also that council could set the licensing fees for this. Just like your existing ordinance, the fees are not set in the ordinance. It is best practice to allow the council each year when they set the fee schedule for the upcoming year by resolution to include these fees in that. And that provision is in this ordinance so that council, when they do their annual fees, can set the fee for this, whether it's $5,000 or whatever council accepts. One of the things that is in here is a good faith effort in equity employment to encourage businesses to hire locally. And we ask them to report how much they have, what percentage of their employee force is residents in Inkster. Using that information, council can then go and decide if they want to take action using that. They can reward those businesses in one way, shape, or form as they see fit, perhaps by a reduction in fees, for instance, in the licensing fees. But that's pretty much what we have out here. You've had a first reading, you had your public hearing on that. Any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Okay, I know it's questions, so let's get them out there, or comments or things that you guys want to see added on to these. And I know that we had spoke earlier about in the business license section that each license would be voted on by itself separately. So if you want to just go down the list, we can do that. It's up to the pleasure of the council. What you guys want to
do? I have a question.
Go ahead, Councilwoman Wiley.
The marijuana retailer, that's the recreational, correct?
I'd unmute myself. Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, that's correct. So when we get to that license is when I make the motion to exclusively pair them, as I've been asking since the beginning, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
All right. All right. Okay. City Clerk, just so we're all on the same page. I know that, again, Councilwoman Wiley asked for us to separate each one of the licenses as we go along. So do we need a motion for each one of them? I'm assuming yes.
Yes, we can do a motion for each one of them.
All right, Harry, let's go with what's the first one, the micro business?
Actually, the way I've got it written over here, Your Honor, is that we start with the growers, Class A, Class B, Class C, and I don't know if you want to break those down individually. You already have the medical marijuana growers in your ordinance, so it would be adding the three categories for adult use businesses, the A being 100 plants, B being 500 plants, and C being 2,000 plants.
Okay, and it'll basically be the same hours of operation and
Right.
then a $5,000 fee?
Right, right. Well, the fee will be decided by council by resolution separately.
Okay.
I want clarification.
Go ahead.
Okay, so my question would be, why are we voting on these separate? I mean, you laying them out the way where they're supposed to be. I mean, there's a reason why we got to go down each individual one of them?
That was just a request from one of the council members. That was just a request. I didn't say we doing it. I mean, it's just a request.
But then
That's
you
what
just
I'm
tell
saying,
the clerk that we're going down one by one? Maybe I'm just not hearing right.
I don't know.
I said, can we? I say, asked her, can we do that? And is that okay? That way, going down one at a time.
So
Because
what I'm saying,
asked, if you don't want to do it that way, then I'm okay with it. Let's put it out there. You got both of us.
But then, is Councilman Williams through?
I know what I'm voting on.
Well, then I would like to make a motion in reference to the marijuana retailer provisioning centers that we pair the medical exclusively with the recreational, and that way our number remains at 3. That's
So you trying to put them together?
Medical and recreational together.